This is a very interesting folk ghost story. Then the story begins. No one who has seen me since I was a child can remember what I look like. Even my parents picked up the wrong child when I was in kindergarten. My grandma Jo said that this was because I had no face. My face was stolen shortly after I was born. My parents were a perfect match. It is said that when I was born, I was called the most beautiful baby in the past 20 years by the Women and Children's Hospital. The hospital's publicity department took my photo and printed it into a picture album for publicity. My grandma Jo learned numerology from a master when she was young. The blind school of zodiac fortune tellers said that according to the birth date, I will grow up to be a beautiful, elegant, and graceful beauty. I will definitely meet a noble husband and hold a high position in the future. In ancient times, it was the fate of a queen. When my grandma Belle was happy, she would tell everyone she met. Perhaps from that time on, people had placed their hopes on me. When I was 3 or 4 years old, my parents had already noticed something was wrong. They could never remember what I looked like. But they attributed it to being too tired and having too much work pressure. Until they picked up the wrong child from kindergarten more than once. The teacher also told them that although they knew my name, they could never remember my appearance. That's when they panicked. They took me to various hospitals for full-body examinations, but nothing was found. Later, they went back to their hometown to pick up my grandma. When my grandma Jo saw my face change, she slapped her thigh and said, Shinshin's face was stolen. This person's cultivation was limited, and he couldn't steal her life. So he stole her face. My mother was angry and anxious, and she hugged me and cried. Who would be so bad-hearted to steal someone else's face? Don't they have a face themselves? My grandma Jo sighed and said, It's true. This child who stole the face was either severely disfigured or born without a face. He desperately needed a good-looking face to live. Are there people who are born without a face? My mother couldn't believe it, she was too surprised to cry. It is said that there is a faceless person in every 10 million people. This kind of person has no face and specializes in stealing other people's faces to use. I haven't seen it either, but I heard my master mention it in the early years. I remember it. When Shinshin was less than 3 years old, there was a fire in a family near our house, and the whole family died. There was only a 5-year-old girl left, whose face was disfigured by the burn. Her grandmother came to pick up the child and said that she went back to the countryside. My father pondered for a long time and finally remembered a key clue. Yes, families with faceless people will most likely suffer accidents. Faceless people are born with bad luck and are destined to be lonely for life. Moreover, if faceless people want to change their faces, they usually have to destroy their original faces first, so that the face change is natural. If this faceless person just steals faces, it will be fine. I am afraid that he will become powerful in the future and steal lives. My grandmother Jo looked solemn. What should I do? My mother panicked. My grandmother Jo said, First, my family needs to move. To delay the time when the faceless man comes to our house again. Second, she will ask her senior brother to kill the faceless man together. Then my face will be restored. These things must be completed before I turn 20. Otherwise, my life will be completely faceless. My fate will be rough and miserable. Even if I meet the destined person, we will not be harmonious. I will end up living alone. However, my grandmother Jo's senior brother passed away the next year. Grandma Jo's cultivation is limited. When I was 19, I still hadn't found the faceless man. And I was used to being ignored. I could never see my face clearly. In the graduation photo. When I was a sophomore, a turning point came. I met a pervert while running. That's what I called Chu Wei at the time. He always ran behind me and stared at me. For many years, I was used to being treated as invisible. I was not used to being noticed suddenly. So after he followed me for a week, I couldn't stand it anymore and stopped him. Hey! Why are you always following me? Because you are very beautiful. Chu Wei, a special disciple of the I Ching research master Zhongxing. Let's get to know each other. Chu Wei smiled and put one hand in his pocket. The other hand stretched out to me. He looked like a gangster in a Hong Kong drama. Humph! What a nonsense. I couldn't help but sneer. From childhood to adulthood, no one has seen my face clearly. How can you tell that I am beautiful? Well, actually, I can't see it clearly. He saw my doubt and disdain. He scratched his scalp and said, "But there is a black hair on your head." Before I got angry, Chu Wei said this sentence to turn the situation around. What do you mean? Su Xin, you are in a disaster. Everything that belongs to you seems to be moving away from you. If you don't survive this disaster, you won't die. But you will become a living dead and wander on the edge of the world. Chu Wei restrained his smile and didn't seem to be joking. His words reminded me of what my grandma once said. A bone-piercing chill crawled along my spine and spread throughout my body. This person has always been by your side. He leaned over and whispered in my ear. My hair stood on end and I looked at him in horror. But he kept smiling and continued, "Don't react so much, maybe she is looking at you." Who are you? This boy looks only a few years older than me. How does he know so much? Chu Wei, the 187th generation descendant of Mao Shan. Your grandma Jiao asked me to help you, Xiao Xinxin. He chewed gum in his mouth, and his breath was refreshing with mint. He looked careless and unremarkable. If he hadn't told me so many secret information, it would be hard to believe that this big boy in a sportswear in front of me would be a Mao Shan Taoist priest. From now on, Xiao Xinxin, you have to start pretending to be in love with me, so that I can help you find that woman. Oh, by the way, my identity to the outside world is the son of the richest man in Shanghai. Don't forget to tell the people around you, the more high profile the better. He naturally took my hand. Isn't it against the rules for a Taoist priest to do this? I sneered. Chu Wei shrugged and said, "For Xiao Xinxin, everything is worth it." Chu Wei and I found a coffee shop. We sat in the corner and started our first date. Xinxin, think about it now. Which people have been by your side since you were a child? I counted on my fingers. Michelle, Depeng, and Sun Wugua, 3 identities in total. Chu Wei took out his phone, opened the memo, and started recording. Michelle has been my classmate since I was a child. From elementary school to college. It's amazing, right? That is to say, Michelle appeared 3 years after you moved. Chu Wei poured a cup of milk into the coffee cup. Added 3 pieces of sugar, frowned and took a sip. Yes. Actually, if you don't like coffee, we can drink milk tea next time. I couldn't help but add. This guy almost wrote on his face that I don't like coffee. No, that's it. The view is wide, the environment is quiet, and there are not many people. Chu Wei waved his hands hurriedly. As if to prove that he likes bitter coffee, he mustered up the courage to take a big sip and swallowed it. At this moment, I believed that he was a Taoist priest who was not interested in worldly things. Is this Michelle pretty? Pretty, she has always been the school beauty. I answered a little sadly and swallowed the second half of the sentence silently. Moreover, the senior who I have always had a crush on has become her boyfriend. Where is Depang? Depang is my neighbor after I moved. Because she is a little fat and strong, I call her Depang in private. She is very nice and a gentle fat person. Is she pretty? Chu-wei asked casually while recording on his mobile phone. What do you think? I rolled his eyes at him. Later, I thought that what I said seemed to be impolite to obese people. So I added, in fact, if she is thinner, she should be very beautiful. Where is she now? She failed the college entrance examination and didn't like going to school. So she started her own business and opened a flower shop. The business is not bad. Who is Sun Guogua? Sun Guogua is my cousin. When I was 6 years old, my aunt's family had a car accident and Guogua was the only one left. My dad brought her to live with me. Now she is about to graduate from college and is looking for a job in the city. Beautiful. Chu-wei just opened his mouth. I interrupted him and said, beautiful, very pretty. If she appeared in our school, Michelle would have nothing to do with her. I replied angrily. Xiao Xinxin, you seem to be angry. Chu-wei looked at me with a smile in his eyes. I am not, I am very happy. See, I am very happy. I spread my hands and squeezed a smile like a plaster on my face. I don't know why I suddenly felt a little angry, and there was a trace of sadness. No boy has ever said, I am beautiful in all these years. Because I have no face, they can't remember me at all. Because I have no face, I have never had any youth at all. I am almost 20 years old, and I don't even have a flirt. Isn't it unfair? Little Xinxin, look at me. Chu-wei changed his casual look and looked at me seriously. I looked at him and saw a girl with a bleak figure reflected in his eyes as bright as stars. Little Xinxin, Chu-wei, promise to find your face back. You must believe that you have a bright future and your prince is waiting for you. If the prince doesn't want you to find me, you can use me as a spare tire. Don't cry, I get flustered when the girl cries. When I was moved, he added this sentence. This show-off is really serious for only 3 seconds. I wiped the tears that were about to overflow from my eyes and said to him, Chu-wei, you show-off, who wants to use you as a spare tire? Well, it's not impossible to be the main person. I have to report to the master. He picked up the coffee with a helpless look on his face and drank it slowly. I sprayed a mouthful of coffee far away. Is this guy really a Taoist priest? Seriously, Xiao Xinxin, bring me all your photo albums from childhood to adulthood, especially the photos taken with these 3 girls. I have a feeling that she is among these 3 girls. Before leaving, Chu-wei asked me, Xiao Xinxin, when is your birthday? June 15th, what's wrong? It's okay. As a boyfriend, you must know your girlfriend's birthday, right? Chu-wei's face changed slightly when he heard this, but he quickly returned to normal and laughed. Although he concealed it well, I know that I don't have much time. It's March now. That means that I have less than 3 months to lose my face forever. And I may be completely forgotten by the world. Chu-wei, that. My Grandma Jao must have paid a lot for you. I don't know what Grandma Jao paid. She even invited the descendant of the hermit sect to help me. She has been worried about me for many years. She traveled thousands of miles to find the little girl whose face was burned in the fire. She found that the little girl's face was not healed at all, and she was still the disfigured face. She was soft-hearted and gave all the money she had to the little girl's grandmother. She had no money to take the bus, so she had to call my mother and transfer money to her to buy a ticket back. Don't worry about this, she hopes you can live well. Shinshin, cheer up and don't let her down. The spring breeze in March is already a little warm. I nodded vigorously to Chu-Wei. As soon as I got back to the dormitory, I posted a circle of friends. The content was a photo of Chu-Wei and I holding hands in a cafe. Chu-Wei's perfect side profile and tall and sturdy back. Not to mention, this guy is pretty good looking. When I woke up, my circle of friends exploded. Michelle left a message, "Sister, you are a 1,000-year-old iron tree that has blossomed," grinning expression. Fadi left a message, "Shinshin is so mean, you didn't introduce such a handsome guy to us," sexy expression. My cousin Sunwigwa was even more outrageous, "Bring it out quickly for everyone to appreciate, and help you check it," sexy expression plus grinning expression. I replied uniformly, "They all look useless." Angry expression of a lecherous evil woman, done. Leave them alone for 2 days first. After a few days, slowly exposed Chu-Wei's identity as a rich second generation. The next day I asked for leave and went home. I went back and found the albums that I had locked in the cabinet for many years. In fact, I have very few photos, only 2 albums. Because I think taking photos is meaningless to me. Just ask, every time I take photos, I basically look at others who would be willing to take photos. But there are also some special moments during festivals. For example, at graduation, I would be pulled over to take photos, so these photos were taken. Looking at these photos, I remembered what Chu-Wei said that night, and I felt mixed emotions. If she only stole your face and didn't want to steal your life, she could just walk away after stealing it. That would be the most troublesome. It would be too difficult to find her in the vast sea of people. Even if we use our own tracking technique, it would take some effort. But she was too greedy. She must have heard that your fate was noble and became greedy. And stealing life is much more difficult than stealing face. She can only do it step by step. Through contact, steal your luck bit by bit. You are now, think about it. Who of them is likely to get more of your personal belongings? Underwear, hair, etc. Michelle and I live in the same dormitory. Depeng and I used to play together. Sunwigwa has always lived in my house. It's possible. These 3 girls are the few friends I have had since I was a child. To be honest, I don't want to doubt any of them from the bottom of my heart. But if it's poison wrapped in sugar, it's better not to have it. A week after I posted a circle of friends that seemed to expose Chu-Wei's identity. Michelle was the first to get restless. She asked me, Depeng and Sunwigwa out for tea. I also took the opportunity to officially announce my relationship with Chu-Wei. However, there is some people are used to suppressing others. When people in a lower position want to rise to the top, she will feel uncomfortable even if they just stand side by side with her. Shinshin is so powerful, she is a rich and handsome son-in-law. Michelle pulled my clothes and winked. But there was jealousy in her eyes that could not be concealed. In order to make my friends and classmates remember me, my clothes over the years have always been niche clothes that my mother has asked someone to customize. There is an artistic word on the chest. The style and color are fixed. They knew it was me at a glance. We have just started. I pretended to be shy and lowered my head to look at my toes. Big Fat and Sunwigwa started to make a fuss. These 3 people are very I have to call Chu-Wei. Let him come over to show everyone. This is exactly what Chu-Wei and I want. I reluctantly took out my phone and called Chu-Wei. 10 minutes later, Chu-Wei rushed over. When Chu-Wei appeared, the 3 women's eyes lit up at the same time. I have to say, this guy is dressed up. He really looks like a handsome man. Let me introduce him. Chu Wei, who studies the Book of Changes in the College of Arts, is a student of the Master of the Book of Changes, Zhongxing. The three of them had hearts in their eyes, and after a collective wow, they all stretched out their palms for Chu Wei to read their palms and tell fortunes. Only Sun Wugwa stretched out her hand, then quietly took it back and sat aside to watch the fun. Handsome Chu, is your Jinlong group still hiring? If you are hiring, can you introduce me to the group? I have always been a loyal fan of Jinlong Group. Big Fat shouted. Okay, no problem. I will talk to Secretary Lu later. Chu Wei put one hand in his pocket, looking very handsome. Big Fat's eyes were full of hearts. Hi. Hi. Although he is nominally a boyfriend, it is really annoying. What kind of fake sisterhood is this? Look at Chu Wei again, staring at the most beautiful Sun Wugwa. I even doubt if he still remembers the purpose of his visit. My cousin Sun Wugwa completely inherited the beauty of my aunt. If I didn't lose my face, I should be very beautiful too. I drank 1 cup of fruit tea after another. The fruit tea tasted like alcohol. How is it? Is there any clue? After the party, Chu Wei and I held hands. We waved goodbye in the envious eyes of the 3 people. We strolled in the afterglow of the sunset. Well, I have studied the photos. Adding the information I just collected, Xiao Xinxin, I think I found her, but I am not sure yet, I need to verify it. Deodorant leaned close to my ear and whispered. The mint smell blew on my neck, and the atmosphere was very ambiguous. Although I have no face, I think I blushed. I was about to push him away, but he said she was still looking at us. So he did it on purpose, to make such an ambiguous move. Let the faceless person be jealous and speed up the process to steal my life. Can you tell me who she is first? My little heart was beating violently, more nervous than the college entrance examination. At present, Sun Wugwa is the most suspicious. She dare not let me read her palm, and her face is very similar to your father's. At first glance, it is father and daughter. I rolled my eyes at him and said, That's it? Let me give you an answer. Sun Wugwa has a broken palm. After her parents, my aunt and uncle, passed away, a fortune teller said that her broken palm killed her parents, so she has always blamed herself. The broken palm is also her heart knot, it is normal for her not to show it to you. In addition, my father is her uncle. Haven't you heard of the old saying, nephews look like uncles? Uncles and nieces are very close blood relatives, it is normal to look alike, right? This guy analyzed for a long time and came to this rubbish conclusion. It makes me seriously doubt him. He is an embroidered pillow that looks good but is useless. So. Chu Wei scratched his head. But I still think Sun Wugwa is suspicious. Xiao Xinxin, please believe in a man's intuition. Chu Wei read my contempt and straightened his back and said, No. Do men have such a thing as intuition? Chu Wei saw that I still had doubts about his authority. He took out his tablet and showed me the latest information about the faceless man that the master had just sent me. The faceless man is actually not a human in the strict sense. She is a humanoid monster bred by a pregnant woman who was infected with the evil spirit wandering between heaven and earth. She has no face and no destiny of her own. If she doesn't take other people's faces, she won't live past the age of 5. So it can be said that taking other people's faces is her instinct. It's as natural as a wolf eating a sheep. The way she takes people's faces is to stare at them. If she wants it in her heart and sees it too much, it will naturally turn into her own face. But it is not clear at present. Will the face of the person who has been taken away be rejected after being placed on the faceless person's face? In other words, can it fit well and are there any side effects? This can only be known by asking the faceless person himself. In addition, it is not clear how the faceless person takes away other people's fate. Information in this regard is to be supplemented. Good news is also bad news. Xiao Xinxin, the face stolen by the faceless person may not fit well. So if they like this face very much and want to keep it, they are likely to continue to steal the person's fate. You mean that person keeps stealing my fate bit by bit because my face doesn't fit? There is such a possibility. Chu Wei paused and said, in fact, there have been faceless people a long time ago, and they are very secretive. Some people often don't know that their faces have been stolen throughout their lives. Even if they occasionally find out, they will choose to self-destruct when they are rounded up. Never caught alive, so there is too little information. Xiao Xinxin, let's try again. How about going camping in a week? Let's observe again, especially the face. There should be flaws if you look closely. For example, the skin color will not be completely consistent. I trust you again. I gritted my teeth. A week later, Chu Wei asked me to invite Michelle, Big Fat and Sun Wigwa to go camping. When they heard Chu Wei was going, they readily agreed. Chu Wei was busy running around, very gentlemanly. The faces of these three women clearly showed the words poaching. Their eyes kept turning around him. I have to say that Chu Wei, this scheming man, is too resourceful. In the sunshine outdoors, the faces of these three women are clearer than under a magnifying glass. Big Fat's face and neck are the same skin color, which is basically completely ruled out. The remaining Michelle and Sun Wigwa are questionable. Michelle has been doing beauty treatments all year round, and she disappeared as soon as the summer vacation came since she graduated from high school. It is said that she had plastic surgery, but she has never admitted it and claimed to be a natural beauty. If she really had plastic surgery, I have to say that she is worthy of being a rich girl. They all found top beauty institutions, and the results are really good, all of which are minor adjustments. It gives people a feeling that women change a lot when they grow up, and they become more and more beautiful. Maybe because she uses facial masks every day, her face has a little color difference from cheeks to neck. Sun Wigwa, who is also a facial mask expert, also has the same problem. But it is true that she has not had plastic surgery. I don't know if it is an illusion. I found Sun Wigwa standing by the water several times to admire her face. It was like looking at a favorite object and occasionally touching it once or twice. Her touch gave me inspiration. Just looking is not enough, I have to try it. So I discussed with Chu Wei and tried the authenticity of these two faces in the name of swatting mosquitoes. As a result, I discovered a secret. When I slapped Michelle on the face, she screamed. She touched her nose as quickly as possible. From her expression that she wanted to spray me to death with a mouthful of salt soda. She did have plastic surgery, and she also had her nose moved, so she should not be a faceless person. A faceless person will definitely steal a face that he is satisfied with, and will not be stupid enough to suffer the sin of plastic surgery. So Sun Wigwa is the most suspicious. Chu Wei made a V sign to me, but I felt a chill in my heart. Over the years, I have long regarded Sun Wigwa as my own sister. Before Chu Wei appeared, I never had a doubt about her. It is just our speculation at present, and it is not certain. Don't be too sad, we will know who it is in a month. Chu Wei comforted me. Why is it a month later? The night of a month later is a rare Een month, Een day, and Een time. People's luck is the weakest, and it is also the easiest time to be stolen. Your luck has been eroded by her little by little over the years, and you are just missing this last theft. Remember! Whoever asks you out to meet alone after 30 days is the faceless man. Chue, you said that this faceless man has been by my side all the time. Why didn't my grandma find out? She is good at physiognomy, and it is her destiny. Catching this kind of evil spirit that is neither a demon nor a devil is not her strong point. Before she found us, she traveled all over the country to find the nemesis of the faceless man, but unfortunately she couldn't find it. This time we will use all our strength to help you, so someone will come to help you in a month. Xiao Xinxin, we can definitely get your face back this time. This is the only person who said he could help me in all these years. It's like a patient who has been seriously ill for many years, hearing someone say that he can cure his illness. His heart was immediately filled with gratitude and hope. Chue, thank you. A month later, I woke up early in the morning and kept staring at my phone. At about 10 a.m., a WeChat message came. It was Depeng asking me to go eat Chongqing hot pot in the evening. I just agreed to her, and another message came. It was Michelle asking me to go shopping. There was only no message from Sun Wugwa. I was completely confused and had to agree to everything first. I called Chue to tell him the situation. Chue cursed when he heard it. Xiao Xinxin, get ready. I will pick you up downstairs in 15 minutes. When I went downstairs, Chue was on the phone with a serious face. When he saw me coming down, he hung up the phone and said to me, Xiao Xinxin, it's a bit troublesome. This situation should be because the faceless man noticed something. It would be good if the senior brother was here to help look at the air. It's a pity that his flight was delayed and he would not arrive until the evening. Don't worry, even if I am alone, she can't hurt you. Probably because he was afraid that I would be scared, Chue added another sentence. When we were having dinner together, Chue asked, I stretched out my hand and drew a few strokes on my palm. I took my palm back and looked at it carefully twice, but I didn't see anything on it. He smiled and said, the amulet I gave you cannot be seen by people. TSK, you are just being mysterious. The setting sun melted gold. I went to meet Depeng first. The hot pot restaurant was bustling with people and the aroma was overflowing. As the stove was roasting, Depeng's face became rounder. She waved at me enthusiastically and was very happy. We ordered everything and started to eat hot pot right away. Why did you think of treating me to hot pot today? Is it a special day? No, I just feel greedy and want to find someone to eat with me. Depeng hesitated for a moment and replied with this sentence. During the meal, Depeng was unusually enthusiastic. What tripe, yellowthroat, squid, mushrooms, and green vegetables were put into my bowl with a public chopstick. But I was not in the mood to eat at all, and I reluctantly ate a few chopsticks. Seeing that the time for the appointment with Michelle was almost up, I said goodbye to Depeng. Depeng didn't even try to keep me. According to the past, she would definitely let me eat more before leaving. Something is wrong. But nothing happened. I came out and saw Chue eating skewers outside the store and shook my head. In the taxi, I typed to tell him the situation. He told me not to worry, he was following behind in another car. When I arrived at the place where I had agreed to meet Michelle, I started to feel dizzy and uncomfortable. Michelle saw me from a distance, came up to me happily, took my arm and said, Xinxin, let's go. Prada has released several new models, help me see which one is the most suitable for me. Prada's store is on the top floor of the mall. The higher the floor, the more dizzy I feel. Xinxin, what's wrong with you? Are you feeling uncomfortable? Michelle asked. I looked up at Michelle. I always felt that there was a hint of sinister smile in her eyes tonight. No, I'm fine. I forced myself to be energetic and looked around, only to find that the entire Prada store was empty. There were countless candles. There was a huge talisman array in the middle of the candles. If I remember correctly, this Prada store is Michelle's family property. Michelle, is that you? I looked at Michelle with some sadness. It seems that Chu Wei and I were both wrong. What? She smiled strangely. Little Xin. Chu Wei rushed over and threw a piece of talisman paper with fire at Michelle. She turned and ran. Chu Wei chased after her and threw several pieces of talisman paper at her. It seemed that a scream sounded from a long distance. But after Michelle left, I was still dizzy. I was dragged and thrown into the talisman array by someone. I fell on something. I looked and saw that it was my underwear and hair. There was one of my favorite hairpins. I remembered that it disappeared inexplicably at home. I took a deep breath and looked up at the person. Sun Wugwa's excited and distorted face appeared in front of me. Her right arm was bleeding and seemed to be injured. Xin, my good cousin, be a good person to the end and send the Buddha to the west. Since you gave me a face, give me a life as well. She raised her uninjured left hand and gently stroked her left cheek. It seemed that she loved this face very much. Why? It's not enough to get the face, but also the life? Why do you want to kill them all? I screamed. She pointed a finger at my forehead and smiled. Who can complain about too much good things? I want to live a better life, is that wrong? As she pressed harder, I gradually felt something was being pulled out of my body. It hurt so much, it was like skinning and cramps. I curled up in pain. My aunt and uncle also died in your hands, right, Sun Wugwa? I gritted my teeth and asked, yes, otherwise how could I live in your house? You know your face is very attached to its owner, so I can't be too far away from you. Actually, I didn't want to steal your life at first. But there was no way, your face was not obedient. I had to go all out and take your fate. So in fact, she didn't fit my face very well. She turned her body slightly, looked at the talismans around her, and said, look, it took me more than 10 years to learn it. It's not easy. I got your life and your face. I completely became you. See if it doesn't stay peacefully on my face. After saying that, she slapped herself in the face with a neurotic sound. I screamed in shock. I suddenly remembered that Sun Wugwa had sleepwalking since she was a child, slapping herself in the face in her sleep. Sometimes she even appeared in my room in the middle of the night. At that time, our whole family thought that Sun Wugwa was traumatized by the death of her parents. My parents even took her to see a psychologist, but it was of little use. It turned out that she was awake from the beginning to the end, she was just subduing my face. Because we have a close blood relationship, even though she and my father look like father and daughter, we never doubted it. It turns out that the cruelest people are those who are related to us by blood. Now, let's take a little blood from the palm of our hands and drop it into the life-changing formation. Then you can rest assured. She smiled and took out a dagger to cut my palm. But something bounced back and she fell to the ground. When she got up and was about to rush into the talisman formation again, she was shocked by this broken cry, "Stop, evildoer." It turned out that Chu Wei had rushed back. He also brought a middle-aged man with his hair tied up. It must be the senior brother that Chu Wei had been talking about. The two sides soon got into a fight. Chu Wei used talisman paper and the senior brother used a whip. Sun Wugwa was not in the upper hand and was hit several times. In the end, in order to escape, she was so shameless that she used her face to block the attack. Chu Wei was afraid of hurting my face, and twice he even helped her block the attack of the senior brother. Sun Wugwa proudly blew kisses at Chu Wei. The senior brother took advantage of her complacency and whipped her back with a whip. She spat out a mouthful of blood. She looked at us with resentment and said, "I will decide Su Xian's life. If you have the ability, then guard it, and guard it well." After Sun Wugwa finished speaking, he teleported 5 meters away and gradually disappeared. The eldest brother chased him out, and Chu Wei hurriedly destroyed the talisman formation. He took me out of the formation and asked, "Xiao Xinxin, how are you?" Chu Wei's face, which was so pale from nervousness, enlarged in front of my eyes, so large that I felt dizzy. I have never felt so uncomfortable before, as if my whole body was broken. As soon as I opened my eyes, Chu Wei stood by and watched carefully. Like a child who had done something wrong. "I'm sorry, little Xinxin, I didn't protect you well." "Where's Sun Guogua?" "She ran away." "Don't worry, I have the senior brother here." "The senior brother can see the qi, and Sun Guogua has stolen a lot of your luck. As long as you find the same qi as yours, you can find her. And now she is injured and her control is reduced. As long as she wants to keep your face, she must steal your life. Otherwise, she will become a faceless person again, or even worse. What will happen to her? She will be shattered and disappear from this world completely. I admit that I hate Sun Guogua at this moment. But I still feel a little heavy when I hear that her soul will be shattered. But the Creator created wolves and sheep, and they are enemies from birth. Either the sheep dies or the wolf dies, and no one will show mercy. This is reality. I asked my aunt and uncle, but they couldn't remember what Sun Guogua looked like before she was 5 years old. And the two families did have a party on your 3rd birthday. At the party, your Grandma Belle praised you for your beauty and showed off your fate. The door rang. Chu Wei's senior brother came in and whispered a few words in Chu Wei's ear. Chu Wei's face changed, and then he said to me, "Xiao Xinxin, we have some things to deal with. Aunt and uncle will be at the hospital within half an hour. Remember, don't trust anyone. If you find something wrong, clap your hands, I will come back immediately." After walking 2 steps, Chu Wei returned and took off the peachwood beads on his wrist. The beads were very long, and he coiled them 2 or 3 times and put them on my wrist. "Xiao Xinxin, wait for me." I nodded and watched their hurried backs. If I heard correctly, they should have found Michelle and mentioned the police station. I just couldn't figure out why Michelle would help Sun Guogua. And Depeng, the inexplicable hot pot he treated me to. It was like a mess lingering in my mind. Suddenly I remembered that when Sun Guogua appeared last, her right arm was injured. An idea popped up and made me shudder. Sun Guogua stole Michelle's face as a prop and even stole Depeng's face. No wonder Depeng's face was rounder that night, it should be rejection. And although Depeng's body was bulging that night, it was still thinner than usual. I thought it was an illusion at the time, but now I think of it and I'm sweating. So she should have been. I must have eaten something to make me weaker and help take my fate away. Then she used Michelle's face to lead me upstairs. She deliberately ran away when Chu Wei appeared and led Chu Wei away. But she didn't expect Chu Wei to be so powerful and she would be hurt. After shaking Chu Wei off, she tore off Michelle's face, turned back into Sun Guogua, and teleported back to continue operating the magic circle. So other people's faces are like masks to her. And my face is her favorite mask. I sat up suddenly, dizzy, and held the bed railing. No wonder Chu Wei told me not to trust anyone. Michelle must have lost her face and even her life. I grabbed my hair and tore it hard. "Sun Guogua, you devil, I will kill you." Dressing change for bed 6. A nurse knocked on the door. I then realized that my left shoulder was wrapped in gauze. It should be the scratch when Sun Guogua threw me into the magic circle. However, when the nurse removed the gauze behind my shoulder, I smelled a familiar fragrance. The next second, a cold scalpel was placed on my neck. Sunwugwa's laughter rang in my ears. Sunwugwa, how many people do you want to harm? Give others back their faces. She seemed to have heard a funny joke. After laughing a few times, she said coldly, you can't protect yourself, and you still care about pitying others. Su xin, you fool. Shinshin, my parents pushed the door in and saw this scene. Who are you? Let my daughter go. My father yelled at her. She is Sunwugwa, I answered helplessly. Uncle, aunt, you'd better get out of the way and let me take Su xin away. I promised to get a brand new Su xin, exactly the same. You are dreaming. You ungrateful bastard. How did our family let you down? You treat us like this? My mother held the door tightly, fearing that she would run away with me. Favor? Haha. Favor? You still have the nerve to mention it. You have been praising Shinshin since childhood, even my parents have been praising her. As long as she is around, you will revolve around her. Who will look at me, who will praise me? Is it my fault that I have no face since childhood? I also want a beautiful face like Su xin. It's okay that she is so beautiful and her fate is so good. Why is she outstanding in everything and happy? Why should I be ignored and neglected and live a miserable life? Sunwugwa roared. Tears dripped on the bed sheet and she actually cried. So you took everything from her? My father asked in a trembling voice. Yes. Everything. I want to be Su xin. Dad, Mom, I am Su xin, I am. She is crazy. I took advantage of her inattention and wrapped the peachwood beads on my wrist around her wrist. She screamed, dropped the scalpel, covered her arm and wailed. She tore the beads desperately, and soon the skin on her arm showed signs of burning. I clapped my hands, and Chuwei's senior brother rushed in. The senior brother wrapped a whip around Sunwugwa's neck. Chuwei smiled and blinked at me. If they were always there, how could Sunwugwa appear? Sunwugwa hit her face against the bed. Be careful of her face, Chuwei shouted. Don't worry. The eldest brother pulled Sunwugwa to the ground with a whip. Her arms were already burning and the bones were exposed. Chuwei threw a few talismans and stuck them on her body. She instantly let out a scream that was enough to pierce the eardrum. The eldest brother tightened the whip and chanted a spell. Sunwugwa turned to ashes in less than 10 seconds. There were more than a dozen faces left on the ground. Chuwei picked up my face from them. After washing it with the rootless water he brought from the master sect, it was put back on my face. I could feel my face hugging my flesh tightly. It was like a lost child throwing himself into his mother's arms. It would grow completely in one day and one night. Congratulations, Su xin. Chuwei stretched out his right hand to me, and rarely did he call me Xiao Xinshin. Thank you. I stretched out my left hand and held Chuwei's hand, tears in my eyes. That's great, Xinshin. It turns out that our daughter's face has never left our home. My mother sat by the bed and kept wiping her tears. Good. It's good to be back. My dad also nodded frequently, tears streaming down his face. Uncle, Aunt, Shinshin. My senior brother and I are going to deal with these stolen faces. Shinshin just got her face back, and her fate has just returned, so she needs more rest. I just took a look, and among these faces there is Depeng's face and Michelle's face. I hope they are all still alive. Don't worry, we will let Shinshin rest now. You guys go, we are here. My dad waved at them. Chu Wei and the senior brother each took 2 handfuls of faces, put them in bags, and hurried away with them on their backs. Mom, call my grandma Jo and tell her that my face has been found. I just lay down, and suddenly I think of my grandma Jo. Unexpectedly, my mother's tears that had just been wiped away came out again. Shinshin, your grandma Jo passed away 2 months ago. Half a year ago, she felt that she was dying, so she found Chu Wei's master. Because in the early years, your grandma Jo did not choose Chu Wei's master, but chose your grandfather. So the two had no contact for a long time. In order to save you, your grandma Jo had to find Chu Wei's master. Unexpectedly, the two laughed and put aside their grudges. Your grandma Jo spent the last moments of her life beside Chu Wei's master. Originally, she didn't let me tell you, but Mom thought you should know these things when you grow up. No wonder Chu Wei subconsciously avoided my grandma Jo when he mentioned her. I guess Grandma Jo was gone at that time. Grandma Jo and Grandpa had a good relationship. After Grandpa passed away, Grandma Jo has been single. I didn't expect that she had such a connection with Chu Wei's master. For me, Grandma Jo had to face that lost emotion, and it was perfect to untie the knot before she died. Sun Guoguo was right. No matter if I have a face or not, I have always lived in love. So I am lucky and happy. Grandma Jo, I love you. A week later, Chu Wei picked me up from the hospital. He was dressed in a suit and drove a Rolls-Royce, attracting everyone's attention. It's just a discharge, but he's dressed like he's applying for a job. I walked around the car twice, trying to find some signs of fakery, but I couldn't find any. Now this high imitation looks like the real thing, I sighed sincerely. Chu Wei smiled, said nothing, took the things, and put them in the trunk. He helped me sit in the passenger seat and buckled my seatbelt himself. He drove all the way to the Jinlong Group building, and the security guard ran over to open the car door attentively. Chu Wei waved his hand, and the security guard left tactfully. Let's meet Chu Wei, the 187th generation disciple of Mao Shan, the son of the chairman of the Jinlong Group, and the current executive director of the Jinlong Group. He's not a prince, I don't know if you dislike him or not. Chu Wei looked at me seriously. I pointed at him with trembling fingers. Oh my God, no way. This man is not only a real Taoist priest, but also a real rich second generation. I calmed down, cleared my throat and said, You mean you want to pursue me? Isn't it obvious? Chu Wei shrugged. It's okay. I'll think about it. My face is a little hot. I'll wait for you, Xiao Xinxin. In the evening, Chu Wei arranged a banquet. As soon as I opened the door, I saw Michelle and Depeng with a happy face. The two of them rushed over excitedly, and the 3 women cried and laughed, like crazy. After this shock, I think each of us has seen through some things and has grown up. Chu Wei, you will accompany me to pay tribute to my grandma Jo in a few days. After 3 rounds of drinks, I said to Chu Wei. In what capacity? Chu Wei looked at me with a smile. The bright eyes are like the vast sea of stars, with a girl's red face printed in them. Boyfriend, right. It's really inappropriate not to give you a name for so long. I stuttered a little, but still tried to maintain my appearance. Michelle and Depeng shushed. If you two want to show off your affection, wait until we leave. It's so sweet. Chu Wei and I smiled at each other and held hands tightly under the table. End of article.